Well, thank you very much, James. You have set the scene for my brave idea, given that everybody is now laughing and feeling loose and happy and, you know, in the scene, in the zone. So thank you very much. My brave idea for the City of Brisbane hails from the abstract. However, the more I researched it, the more I found hard science to back it up. My brave idea is that Brisbane takes the leap of faith and be loud and proud and call itself the City of Happiness. With all the slings and arrows that might possibly bring, with the media discomfort, for instance, or potential derision, I can hear it now, the flip side could be national and international focus, community inclusion, a greater sense of well-being and resilience, especially in times of stress or natural disaster. So, let's define happiness. Well, as a noun, happiness is the state of being happy. It's a forward motion, it is a doing, it is a being. Happiness is an emotion that's characterised by feelings of enjoyment, pleasure and satisfaction. It's a mental or emotional state of well-being that produces positive or pleasant emotions ranging from contentment right up to joy. A variety of biological, psychological, religious and philosophical approaches have striven to define happiness and to identify its sources over the centuries. Philosophers and religious thinkers would define happiness in terms of a good life or flourishing, rather than simply just as an emotion, whereas, for instance, evolutionary psychologists would say that happiness comes from encountering unexpected positive events. There are happiness economists, and they would suggest that measures of public happiness should be used to supplement more traditional economic indicators when evaluating the success of public policy. So, while the idea of population happiness is not in and of itself new, the concept of countries or cities inculcating happiness into their policy making has occurred in few instances before. Other than a number of Australian organisations, many of which are universities and community organisations exploring happiness, no major city in Australia, or I believe in the Southern Hemisphere, has identified itself by making a planning criterion statement or claiming happiness for a current achievement or for a future aspiration. We're already halfway there, folks. Brisbane, with its subtropical climate, its sunshine, its genesis from a country town into a sophisticated city, its relaxed atmosphere, and I would say relaxed business atmosphere, its large and all-encompassing local government framework, which does give good power and control, we are ideally predisposed for my brave idea. We've already positioned ourselves as Australia's New World City. We've already committed to a visible and sustainable ethos through the I Green Heart Brisbane and City Smart program, and we currently use the tagline energised, enterprising and self-assured when we talk about ourselves as a New World City. But what if we were brave enough to add happy? Imagine Brisbane, Australia's New World City, energised, enterprising, happy and self-assured, as the way we describe ourselves to the world. It's pretty brave, isn't it? Imagine being known as Brisbane, the City of Happiness, when people talk about us. No one else in Australia has been that audacious. No one else has claimed that space. Why shouldn't we? There is hard science, as I was saying before, about the economics of happiness. The concept of happiness as a measure of positivity and therefore an input to increased feelings of long-term well-being has been talked about for some time. But it's like a poor cousin, I fear, that's been hidden away in a dark room. Let's bring that cousin out. It's a brave city indeed that stands up to claim the moniker of happiness. I can see the headlines now from cynical journalists. I, in fact, was one in very early life. I could write my own headline, actually. I'm not going to. I can see the letters to the editor from citizens who would reject this statement from Brisbane about it being a truly happy place. What about the floods? What about unemployment? What about homelessness? All serious issues. But this is a brave idea event. And so what's brave is taking the concept of happiness and inculcating it into the fabric of Brisbane for decades to come. So the people who want to come to Brisbane recognise that as a definitive place that celebrates happiness, that rewards and publicises happiness, which in turn leads to that warm glow of general positivity, which has been scientifically connected to greater overall economic output, better population health, and a greater sense of well-being. But don't just take it from me. Take the Kingdom of Bhutan, which measures prosperity by gauging its citizens' happiness levels, not GDP. Since 1971, Bhutan has rejected GDP as the only way to measure progress. In its place, it championed a new approach to development, which measures prosperity through formal principles of gross national happiness, GNH. And that's based on spiritual, physical, social and environmental health of its citizens and the natural environment. And what about the Prime Minister of the UK, David Cameron, who in 2010 asked the UK Office of National Statistics to develop the Happiness Index as part of a £2 million project. Being happy at work, one of those outcomes from that project found, makes people more productive and improves the economy of the day. What about Google? The second largest market capitalised country in the Western world. They employ a chief happiness officer. Now you might be thinking, oh, well, that's Google. But that was the 107th employee. 107th. They thought about it a long time ago. Those who study happiness are focused on measuring subjective emotions, where people who report that the determinants of happiness include physical and mental health, the strength of family and community ties, autonomy and a sense of control over one's life. And there's a little bit more. Research done by universities of Exeter and our very own University of Queensland have found that the quality of a person's social life could have an even greater impact than diet and exercise on their health and well-being. Can happiness be taught? Of course it can. Where to from here? Well, it's a brave move. But what if Brisbane surveyed its constituents, its ratepayers, and created its own happiness index, and bravely published those results every 2 years? What if the economic development policy of the City Council linked levels of happiness to economic output and talked about that when attracting businesses and industries to the city? What if Brisbane's International Student Attraction Program used the cornerstone of the City of Happiness to pull students to the city? What if policymakers in community services and outreach at local government actually programmed happiness events sensibly into their annual programs? What if we ran a happiness convention? In summary, Brisbane, the City of Happiness. What a brave idea.